I'm joined now by Josh Klahr, VP of Products at Greenplum, a division of EMC. Josh, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Do you think of Hadoop as a full-fledged enterprise tool now?
That's a good question. I would say not yet, although when we're going out and talking to CIOs and IT departments about what they're doing with Hadoop, I would say virtually 100% of these enterprises are investigating Hadoop. So there's and it's kind of a range. Some are starting to experiment. They've heard of the big data thing, and they want to try out Hadoop, so they have a small cluster they've brought up, and they're still maybe trying to figure out what to do with it. And then there's some, what you would call traditional enterprises that are in fact, I think, using Hadoop at scale in production environments. But across the board, I think enterprises are still struggling with some of the challenges of dealing with Hadoop, whether it's data access or management or deployment. I think there are still some challenges for Hadoop to get over.
Are things like access, management, and deployment, are those the main challenges that you're seeing for adoption?
Yeah, I think, although I maybe don't have an exhaustive list, there's certainly one which is, as the size of the Hadoop cluster node grows, managing all of those distributed nodes, having visibility into performance, handling downtime. Some enterprise features you would expect, like backup and recovery of data sets, just don't exist yet in Hadoop and HDFS. And then another one is data access. Hadoop is, I would say, fantastic at low-cost data storage, and HDFS really scales nicely. It's inexpensive. But the tools to access that data for the traditional enterprise data workers, I think, are still lacking.
Now, there's some activity around SQL and Hadoop. What are you tracking in that space?
Yeah, I think it started with Hive. I think the folks at Facebook realized, hey, there's a whole bunch of people in our organization that want to talk to our Hadoop cluster that can't. And so Hive was a first pass at allowing a SQL interface that could talk to Hadoop. And I actually saw it I used to work at Yahoo as well, and we had this paradigm where we had this huge cluster of really valuable data, but there was a whole class of users that couldn't talk to it. They just couldn't speak the language of Hadoop. They couldn't speak MapReduce. And so I think over the past 2 years, starting with Hive, and then a bunch of startups, as well as additional Apache projects, people have been trying to solve the SQL problem. And we've seen it as well. When we're going in and selling the traditional Greenplum database, we're starting to get questions about, hey, I would like this kind of access, but I want it in the world of Hadoop. So we started a project a while ago also to bring kind of our database capabilities and the SQL capabilities into the Hadoop ecosystem. But I'd say we're not unique in seeing that opportunity.
Sure.
And I think it's going to happen. You will have fully fledged, performant SQL interfaces on top of Hadoop.
Last question for you. What role do you see virtualization playing with Hadoop?
I think it's really important. Getting back to the comment I made about deployment and managing of those Hadoop clusters, virtualization provides a lot of really nice IT tools for the IT community, scaling out storage, scaling out compute, and doing it in a way where you have some level of elasticity, and you have some management tools that are looking at kind of the management of the overall cluster. And so I think as Hadoop continues to penetrate the enterprise, you will have IT departments essentially demanding, I need to be able to run this thing, this Hadoop cluster, but I need to do it within the confines of the virtualization strategy I have. So I think they're on a crash course, and in the future, you will see, we see a small number of them now, but you will see the majority of production Hadoop clusters running in virtualization.
Interesting. Well, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.